Yeah. We'll spray those tubs. They're like 25 feet away. If you're new to the project, a big warm welcome. If you're a tough old root, then welcome back. Today's video is about our off-grid, hand-dug, hillside natural spring system. I'm Josh, and this is our daughter, Ivy.
I'm Celia, and this is our son, Hamish.
Here on Steep in the Woods, we live completely off-grid on a 26-acre homestead nestled deep in the Appalachian Mountains. You'll see no fancy stuff here. It's just making do with what you have and what you can figure out. The word of the day, or the word of the project, is expedient. If you're off-grid and doing it correctly, you're going to be in the middle of nowhere, particularly if you're on a budget, because that's where the cheap land is. And not only that, but you're going to need to find water. There is not going to be water on site. If you're off-grid and doing it correctly, there's not going to be municipal water at the road, which is the case here. We had to find our own water, catch it, capture it, store it, and pipe it to our house. And we needed to do that quickly, and we needed to do that cheap. And that's exactly what this system is. As you can see, we went with the PEX and barrel method, right? Because PEX is one of those few things I actually trust. You can use that sort of black irrigation drip hose thing, but it's not widely known to be used for potable water. If you look it up, yes, it can be, and yes, it is safe, but it's not the norm. So I went ahead and spent really just another $6 or $7 and went with PEX because it is normal. It is trusted. It is what you would expect to see in a system that includes drinking water. I also went with the food grade 55-gallon barrels because they were cheap, and also because I had to carry all of this up, all of the gravel, all of the piping, all of the barrels, all of the fittings by hand. There is no road or easy vehicle access to this location. So in a perfect world, I would have went with 275-gallon white cage totes, but I really didn't want to drag those up. So instead of going with one large system, I just paired two smaller 55-gallon drums, and guess what? It works, and it works just fine. So as obvious as it may seem, step one to capping a hillside spring is to find a hill. Hill found, right? This is all hill. It's called Steep in the Woods for a reason. Then you need to find some water. It doesn't have to be a lot of water. I will tell you, when I did this system right here in this particular spot, there was just the smallest amount of water visible on the surface. The next thing that you're going to want to do, or an important thing to take into account, is to look above it, right? You don't want to see a creek. Like right here, you see a wall, a hill, a bit of the earth with a little bit of water coming out of it. That's great, that's awesome, that can still be usable for your garden. But what makes it clean is having the source of that water hidden. So if you can see wetness above the hill and wetness below it, do not cap your spring on the bottom side. Go to the top side. So you want to trace that back as far as possible to the actual source. So once I found this wetness, I went around walking and I looked, and there was no wetness within, a decent sized area. There was no signs that this was a spring that was coming out somewhere else, above ground, getting infected by, God knows what, bird crap or dead squirrels, and then coming back out. You want to make sure you're as close as possible to the source. So find water, scout out, make sure there's no more water above it, and then if that is the case, cap your spring where you can find it the closest to the source. If you want to see exactly how to cap a spring like this step by step, we have videos on that. This is the exact same system. The dam is made out of a food grade 55-gallon barrel. We use the same rounded river rock pebbles to fill our collection area. The same PVC collection, you know, your main collection has 2 different ports, and then your overflow is just a single. That system is exactly the same. Also, the plastic sheeting is exactly the same. I know people want to give you crap about using plastic sheeting, but if anyone tells you that's not potable, that just means they don't know what's in their water. Trust me, the guy that wants to give you crap about it is drinking worse stuff than you are. So the dam, the actual, you know, the bit of the spring collection that forms this crescent moon shape is just about a 1-foot section of food grade 55-gallon barrel. And then you put your 2 ports in that dam. We're going to call that a dam because that's, I mean, as far as I can tell, that is exactly what the thing is. You put 2 PVC access points in it. One for your feed, one for your overflow, just like this. That's going to go in place in your dugout spring area, you know, as close to the source as possible, as close to the, you know, the big wall of earth here as you can physically dig it. You're going to put that in place and then place a sheet of plastic down, and that's going to hold your water. That's the essence of the dam itself. You've got your strong semicircular structure with your plastic sheeting that'll actually contain the water. Then you install your primary feed, which looks something like this. As well as your emergency overflow. I've never, in any of my spring systems, I've never needed that emergency overflow, but it is absolutely worth having. Once you have those installed in your dam with your plastic, you put in rock. The rock is here just to fill the void. You need a permeable structural filler here. So you use rock because water can flow through it easily. However, it's not compactable. So that just fills the void of your dam area because you are going to cover this back up. You're going to put your final plastic sheeting on it, and then the idea is to just mound up dirt and to allow this to go back to the natural. Like you're really not supposed to know that there's a dam here. You're supposed to cover it up with dirt, maybe plant some cool, you know, native plants, whatever. But that's really the clincher to this system. Is that it's almost unrecognizable as a man-made thing, ignoring the barrels. But yeah, you fill that in with all your various pieces. You put one more sheet of plastic on top, like this. I'm not gonna go, you know, I'm not gonna place it perfectly at this time, and then cover it all up with dirt. Now that has got you spring water in a pipe. Rock and roll. That is pretty much the whole darn system. Now you need to have some sort of a collection system and a storage system. That's where the 55-gallon drums come into play. So assuming that your spring collection, that your water system is above, you know, above where you're wanting it, a gravity feed system. We're roughly, I don't know, 50 feet above our homestead clearing. You're going to want to go ahead and put your barrels here. The more water you can store on the hill, the greater your pressure is. It's the weight of the water that creates the pressure. And I just went with 55-gallon barrels because they were like 20 bucks each. and just a piece of PVC. So your main outlet, your large collection, your main feed, just goes, and I didn't even put glue on these. You just run it out, make sure your barrel is slightly below the plane of your feed system. Your barrel needs to be just slightly lower than your spring collection. So all of this is going downhill. And I just took one of the caps off, right? I mean, this is an Ingles bag. That's just to deter bugs. You do want a vent in this system. If you seal your bucket up completely, 100% watertight, airtight, you will get a vacuum lock, or a, maybe not a vacuum lock, what is it? Vapor lock, right? You as your barrel empties, it needs to be able to draw in air. And as it fills up, it needs to be able to expel air. So that's what this is. This is not a sealed thing, you know, look, hey, that moves. And then one barrel could possibly be all that you need. This one barrel provided all of the pressure that we needed for our homestead. However, I wanted a little bit more storage. So the second barrel is actually an afterthought. I did that later, and I actually had to create that in kind of a strange way. And that's basically it, right? I mean, that's the basic system. There are ways to make it more simple. There's ways to make it more complex. But I was able to do all of this and to get water to the house in 2 days. Now that you've seen the entirety of our system and had it explained, probably not very, very well. I'm sure there were better ways to get all my points across and you know, more simplified versions that I could have showed you. But this is the reality of the deal. This is where my water comes from, and it works, and it's good, and it's clean, it's freaking awesome. But now we need to go down the hill to the house and show you what kind of pressure you can expect from around 50 feet of height and 2 small 55-gallon barrels. Yeah, right? That doesn't look like a bunch. But this is where you get to see the actual pressure out of it. Ready? Yeah. We'll spray those tubs. They're like 25 feet away. Also, the importance of ball valves. You know, hey, right here, $7. Well worth it. And this is good. Good clean water. And that is it for spring water. Beginning, middle, end, deal is over. Go out there and do it. And if you liked what you saw, hit that button. If you're new to the project, hit that other button. You want to help support the project? There are links below. Until next time, here, Steep in the Woods.